The Still Loading podcast is brought to you by the wonderful people on Patreon. Amazing people like Pib Extra, Dennis S., Ryan K., Matt aka Stormageddon, Doug from Nostalgia Marcanum, Melissa S., Parallax Puddles, Kevin from the Bit by Bit Foundation, Stephen P., Gilmer, and Mr. Biscuits have all been wonderful enough to support the show over there. So if you would also like to get your name read at the beginning of an episode, along with a bunch of other goodies, go over to patreon.com/stillloadingpod and check out everything it has to offer. On this episode of Still Loading, sometimes you don't need to go to college. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the Still Loading podcast. I am your host, Josh Koval, and today's episode, it is a little bit different than my standard episode. You know, a lot of times I do either individual deep dives on games, or I have interviews with people in the industry, or like interviews from authors promoting their books or stuff like that, or maybe a discussion episode about like a gaming topic. This is kind of... I'm going to call this an excuse episode, where it's an episode where I am looking for an excuse to talk about a topic that's kind of game related, kind of not, but kind of is. And today we are talking about the streaming service, the myriad of content from the streaming service, bizarrely enough, of Dropout TV. And joining me today, fellow podcaster and friend, Matt, aka Stormageddon from the Fun and Games podcast and Reignite podcast is here. Matt, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be on Still Loading. Trying to remember the last episode I was on. It's all a blur. I think it was Jeff was on the Final Fantasy draft where he won with Final Fistiny, which I will never forget for the rest of my life. I don't remember what the last episode I was on was. It was me and Phil talking about Alan Wake.
No, it was you and Eric Guest talking about Super Mario RPG.
Oh, yes, you're right. Actually, yeah. I don't know. I do too much. I can't keep track of it.
No,
when you get old, Josh, you just forget things. They just fall out of your brain.
Mm-hmm. And man, a podcaster such as yourself, who guests on a lot of shows and runs a bunch of shows yourself, I could see how it would be hard to keep track of it all.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes folks will ask, like, what's coming down the pipe, and it's like, I don't know what's actually aired. Like, I know I recorded something with Keith from the Main Quest that hasn't aired yet. I recorded something with Dave that hasn't aired yet, Dave Jackson. Mm-hmm. Something else, just as the day we're recording, an episode of Date With Us, a dating sim podcast, just came out where I was talking about Date Everything with the lovely folks over there. If you like dating sims, it's worth checking out. But like, because also a lot of our friends backlog stuff, you do it too. And so like sometimes I'll record a thing and then go, oh wait, when's this coming out? Oh, you don't know? Okay, great.
Yep.
Well, whenever it comes out, you know?
I mean, this one, normally my turnaround times are about a month. This is actually going to be 2 months because just circumstances. Though it's funny you bring up Dave Jackson. I will be recording with him tomorrow night. So it's going to be awesome. A fun time all around. So we're here to talk. I brought Matt on for a very specific reason that we'll get into, and I chose Matt as my guest for this episode for a very specific reason. We're here to talk about a streaming service. That's weird. Listener, you're probably asking yourself, Josh, why the fuck are you talking about a streaming service on a video game podcast? And it's not a gaming streaming service. It's a television show streaming service. It's a TV streaming service. It's video content. Well, listener, Dropout TV is a comedy streaming service that has been around for a handful of years, less than a decade right now. Originally launched in 2018, and it's a offshoot of College Humor. And the reason we're talking about this, and we'll touch on this, but this is mainly, just to be honest, listeners, like I said, this is an excuse episode. This is an excuse for Matt and I just to gush about what we love about Dropout TV, and it's just something that I've been dying to talk about in some way, shape, or form and have not been able to. And thank the good Lord that they actually have a site for mini games based off of literally directly ripped from some of the episodes of their shows that they use in their game shows. And for those who are curious, you can go to minigames.dropout.tv and you can play Snowboard the Best or Survive the Maze or Crack the Captcha, which is really fucking hard, actually. Like that game's actually really difficult. Buttling Buddy, we'll get to that. Power Up Jacob, or well, Cast Your Vote doesn't really count anymore, but you get the idea. These are all games that were used within a game show on their streaming service. And we're here to talk about some of our favorite bits and shows and content and all this other stuff over on Dropout. And to kick it all off, now that you know the context of this is just an excuse to profess our love for this streaming service. Weird thing, I know, very capitalist of us, but anyway, we're here to talk about what we love about the shows and what they do over at Dropout, and this is where we're going to go into our personal histories with it. And normally I would give my guest the floor, but I'm going to go first this time just because I got into Dropout TV because of my wonderful guest here, because of you, Matt. You posted on, I want to say, I remember back when Twitter wasn't a cesspool. Well, it was always a cesspool, but less of a cesspool before we all migrated off of it. You posted about watching Game Changer, and every time you finished a Game Changer season, you posted about it. And I remember being like, okay, this seems interesting. Like I just saw Game Changer. I'm like, this is interesting. I've never heard of this. And I like the colors of the backgrounds of their set was so vibrant. And I was just like, oh, what is this? And then I started seeing clips of Game Changer in Instagram, and my algorithm started feeding it to me because, it spies on me or whatever. And I was laughing really hard and I really liked it. And what really kind of ended up selling me on actually paying for the subscription, which, side note, listeners, this is not like a sponsored episode. They have nothing to do with this. This is just me gushing. This is just Matt and I gushing about this. It was only like $50 a year. They have since upped the price to a whopping $60 a year, but it's only $50 a year. So I was like, okay, I will spend $50 for a year of for this. And I finally got it. But what made me actually bite the bullet and what made me actually, go through with it and subscribe was there's a show on it called Very Important People, which we'll go into more detail in a little bit. And some of the funniest clips I've ever seen are from that show. And that I was showing my wife it, and Courtney and I, this was like literally the Dropout subscription was our anniversary present last year. And we have been obsessed with it ever since. So, or no, sorry. It was our anniversary present this year, not last year, this year. And we have been watching ever since. So that is my experience with Dropout, is you introduced it to me kind of inadvertently, and then it's been that way ever since. So I'm throwing over to you, Matt. I've been talking a whole bunch. How did you kind of get into Dropout TV, and what are some of your experiences with it?
So it's funny, like, first of all, I think it's very funny and still a little weird that I influence people. I'm a quote unquote influencer.
You're an influencer, Matt.
I post about indie games on social media, and when it's a small indie game, especially if we're championing it on funny games, or I got a review code or whatever, like, I want to influence people. If I sell one copy of a game directly because I played it and posted about it, I consider it a win, influencer or not. Like, that's what I'm here to do, like using what little audience I have to spread the word about some of the smaller games that I love. Yes, I post about the bigger stuff too, but like, that's the idea. And the thing you're referring to is the threads I used to do on Twitter that now I still do on Blue Sky, but because threads are a little less effective on Blue Sky, I really only do it for the games I'm playing. But a few years ago, when I was trying to find other ways to talk about the games I was playing before I started considering myself a writer, or still a weird word that comes out of my mouth, I'm still adjusting to that bit, even though I've been writing for over a year at this point on the Patreon. More on that later. I wanted a way to like review games and stuff, and friends that I had followed were posting these threads of like they posted threads about all the games they played in a year, and every time they beat a game they would post a little blurb about it and like share a screenshot. And I started seeing it, so then I started doing it a few years ago. I know you and Dave Jackson also have been doing it for quite some time, and so I was doing it for just games. But at the time, I used to have a show. You guessed it on. I think you guessed it on Screen Snark, right? Didn't
No,
you at one
I
point?
never guessed
Oh,
it
you
on
never
Screen
did.
Snark.
Oh, we never got you on. So I had a podcast called Screen Snark, which was a TV and movie podcast where my co-host Rachel and I would bring a thing that we had just watched and talk about it, and we'd have guests on. A lot of the folks in our indie circle were on it, and though that show has ended on good terms, but we just went in separate directions. We didn't really have time to do the show anymore. But during that time, I was like, oh, well, I want to start posting about the TV shows and movies I'm watching too, right? That completionist thing of like finish a thing, talk about it. It was kind of fun and gave me the serotonin. And so this was probably 3 or 4 years ago now when I started doing that. I had originally only been doing it for movies, and then I was like, well, I could do it for seasons of TV shows too, because why not, right? You're finishing a thing. It's like watching a movie basically in that like completed arc or whatever. And so I started doing that as well, and I was getting fed Make Some Noise and Game Changer clips, but mostly Make Some Noise clips on TikTok. I think the in route was Brennan Lee Mulligan. I'd known about Brennan from other things. I had seen him in, of course, all the old College Humor videos, like when he plays a variety of CEOs as things go wrong, which are some of my favorites. He's been a part of College Humor for quite some time, and I always enjoyed him as an improviser when he guested on other stuff. And I probably clicked on some D&D related videos since I like D&D, and then I started getting fed these Make Some Noise clips. And like the one that I remember most vividly, the first one is like when in an episode of Make Some Noise, Sam asks Brennan what he really thinks of this rinky dinky point system. And then Brennan goes on his rant about what's wrong with the point system on Make Some Noise. And it's a pretty viral clip. It's one of the most popular from the show. And after seeing it multiple times on my feed, I was like, all right, well, I got to see what this is all about. And so I originally subscribed to watch Make Some Noise, which the irony in that is a spin-off show from Game Changer.
Yep.
But once I had devoured all of Make Some Noise, which there was much less. I think there's only 3 seasons currently. There's a 4th coming. I was like, all right, well, I might as well see the show this spun off of, and started watching Game Changer from episode 1. And all the while posting on social media, which is how you saw it. And like, I just became obsessed with it. Some background, I think, for me about why I think I gravitated towards Dropout so much is because I used to like watching TV and movies a lot. I don't as much anymore. Video games tend to be my primary relaxing tool or like pastime tool. But when I spend time with my spouse, we often watch TV or movies. We love, like recently, like we're currently watching the new season of Only Murders in the Building. We're watching Andor. We've been watching a bunch of different stuff. We're watching High Potential. We really like TV shows. The goofier, the schlockier, the better sometimes too, because it's a nice way to come down from stuff. And so most of the shows that I want to watch, I'm watching with her. And so I didn't really spend a lot of time watching TV on my own. And I always watched more YouTube. We were talking offline about a YouTuber that you and I both used to really like, and not sure how we feel now. But regardless of that, I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of video essays on YouTube. It's probably the thing I consume the most. I pay for YouTube Premium. I don't have ads. For me, it made more sense than any other streaming service was to pay for YouTube so I didn't have to see ads anymore, because I just watch so much stuff, and not just games, movies, TV, like science. I love Hank Green, like all sorts of stuff. And so I was already digesting media via YouTube and these video essay formats and these like smaller scale formats, game shows, whatever, on YouTube. And so when I saw how much Dropout cost a year every year, and had enjoyed these clips on line so much, I was like, I'm gonna pay the $10 a month, like $10 or the $50 a year or whatever it was, like whatever it came down to, like $8 a month or whatever. And I was like, just because I was like, it feels like a no-brainer, and it's some of the best money I've ever spent. Like, I love Dropout. I love a lot of the shows on there. And so it's really funny to me that you got into it through me, because I haven't even been watching it that long. Like, all credit goes to a bunch of other folks, some of my friends, Dan Berlin, Tatum, who works with the Warframe, works for now I'm blanking on the studio that makes Warframe, but just a bunch of really cool folks that I know in and around the games industry that
Mhm.
loved Dropout, and I saw it from them. Moises Tavares, like a bunch of really awesome folks who I would hang out with, and we'd crack jokes, and then they would show me these clips, and then I would also start seeing them on TikTok. And so, like, I've been watching, I guess, for 3 years now, 3 years, probably 3 or 4.
Mhm.
Um, and so I haven't even, and like I liked College Humor before that. Like I loved Adam Ruins Everything, and I like Adam Conover, who I know has worked on and off with College Humor stuff too. So like I had had exposure to it, but I hadn't become a devoted fan to Dropout until within the last few years, and I really dig it. So it's fun that I brought you in, and I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Oh man, am I ever enjoying it? And it's funny. So I guess one of the other reasons I wanted to talk about this so much is that you mentioned why you gravitated towards it. The reason why I gravitated towards this content and what they do is it's actually bizarrely personal, and it doesn't make any sense. It's just a streaming service with genuinely funny, like great content and great shows and unique and creative people doing unique and creative things.
Hmm.
That alone should sell it. But the reason why it has spoken so much to me is actually very personal. Over the last year or so, and I don't know if maybe my mom will hear this, who knows, I've been deconstructing a lot from my evangelical upbringing.
Hmm.
And I love my parents. There is no animosity between I and them. They are genuinely some of my favorite people in the world. But growing up in an evangelical household and not always realizing some of the stuff, and also just like a lot of revelations about at least personal revelations about my faith, or somewhat lack thereof. Now I don't really know where I stand on it anymore. But one of the things that you lose when you lose your faith to an extent, or like you become disillusioned with it, with that a community you grew up with, and this doesn't have to be religious. This could be applicable to anyone. If you become disillusioned with a community that you grew up with and were deeply embedded in and a part of, and because I've become disillusioned with the church and my religion, whatever my faith or religion is anymore, I genuinely don't know. That's almost like emotional safety net goes away too. You feel like a lot of that, like right now, I can tell you without getting, and I know this is very heavy, but like the I growing up, if there was something that was stressing me out, I always felt like I could pray about it. And now it's a lot harder to rectify that. And I'm not going to stick on the heavy stuff for too long, listeners. I promise. That's not why you're here to listen. But that the loss of that comfort and that safety net, that community almost, even though they aren't the ones that necessarily directly, they didn't like kick me out or anything, but because of my worldview is shifting, and a lot of the stuff like that I grew up believing that has suddenly become hypocritical to them, which I'm not going to go into. This is not a dissection of Christianity or any of that type of stuff, but it's been hard. It's been really hard, at least for me. And Dropout, bizarrely enough, came along at a time where I was still, and I'm still in the process of deconstructing, but like the deconstruction had started, and seeing this community, even though I'm not a part of what they do, like it this is a extremely parasocial, and I acknowledge that, and it's nothing to do with like it's just for some reason it's filling a gap that my faith originally filled. And I'm not trying to say I consider this a religion. I'm not going that far, but I think what makes Dropout so different as a streaming service is that you can see the community behind the scenes. It's not like Netflix or something else where there's a bunch of different creators, and it's like a movie studio, like a TV network. It's just they make shows, they make movies, and they distribute it to you and you watch it. With Dropout, everything's interconnected. You will see there it's almost like, imagine if SNL created a whole network of shows, right? They have cast members that you see throughout the entire thing, and they guest on different shows. Some of them have grown to have their own shows, and because of that, you have this communal feel. And then the Dropout audience also, in a sense, because they do a great job of interacting with their audience through their shows. Like specifically, there was an episode of Game Changer this year where it was they specifically told everyone, hey, when you watch this episode, have your phones ready on Dropout socials, because you are going to help interact with this episode. So Dropout really kind of builds a community, and it both behind the scenes for its creators, for their actors, for their performers, and also within the actual audience that follows them. And so I've really connected to Dropout because it has kind of given me peace. I'm not going to say it's become a full-on religion, because I think that would be unhealthy, but it has kind of helped ease the transition coming out of my evangelical upbringing into something that I don't really know where I'm at, because of the communal aspects. And there's like episodes of Game Changer where like and there's an entire episode devoted around just doing something nice for one of the cast members who's had a rough time. And seeing how much they genuinely care for each other has been very cathartic for me as I'm transitioning into this next phase of whatever the fuck I believe, So I'm going to move on to the happier stuff now, but that is why I have gravitated towards Dropout. It's kind of like a bizarre substitute. It's been a nice crutch. A little bit more than a crutch, I guess, but a nice crutch as I've been transitioning to a new phase of my life.
Well, I mean, before we move on, if I can, not to speak for you, but like I think the strongest sense of what I'm understanding is, and something that I've experienced myself is like, religion is a lot of things to a lot of people, but the biggest thing it is to most people who observe it is community, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jewish. I'm practicing more or less. The jury's out on the whole God thing, but like the community of it is what's really important. Spending the holidays with family, going to synagogue, and the praying part, like take or leave, but it's the singing together, the community,
Mm-hmm.
the spending time with people you know. And like that part is really important, and finding community in other places is really important if you lose that. And like, especially right now, just in the state of the world, the state of the US where we both live, it's really hard. It's very easy to feel like you are being targeted for the most part, almost no matter who you are. And so like, I think getting that sense of community that feels like a reprieve from what's going on in the world is important. I think it's why you and I also gravitate to the discords that we're active in. I think that sense of community also is a really big part of it. I mean, I've been on social media less and on my friends' discords more, because I get to spend time with similar people and still talk about the things that I would spew about on social media anyway, says the person who still posts multiple times a day. But be that as it may,
Yeah.
like I totally get that. And like, you're right, like Dropout feels more homegrown and grassroots. I think a lot of that is also because Sam Reich, who runs Dropout and is the host of two of the shows we've mentioned already, Make Some Noise and Game Changer, like really is pretty open about his business practices. For the early seasons of Game Changer, he would do like a what was on the cutting room floor and like host it from home with a webcam, and like be really candid about what he worked on, what he was proud of. Like, I think there is a level of accessibility that makes it feel more grassroots than anything else. And even the Dropout creators as well are very interactive online and on socials, and sharing stuff for the community and helping to build up the community, and like fight for a lot of things that I think you and I also want to fight for, like trans rights and
Mm-hmm.
fighting back against things like ICE and all of that. And so I think, to not get too in the weeds of it, I think it makes total sense that when you're having like a quote unquote crisis of faith or a loss of community, that you would lean into something that feels very welcoming and warm, because it does feel like that's, without knowing Sam Reich, it feels like that's the kind of community he's trying to generate with
Yeah.
Dropout and with these shows, and making them a bright spot, making them accessible and entertaining in a way that like 90% of what they put out is comedy. I mean, even the like, I know that I don't watch a lot of the D20 stuff, but like, not D20, but what the hell is their
Well,
are
Dimension
they
20
they're
is
not
their D&D show.
Dimension 20. Yeah,
You
Dimension
were right,
20. So like,
D20.
yeah, Dimension 20 has a lot of serious arcs and a lot of comedic arcs, and I think they have shows that are kind of more straightforward or more analytical, but for the most part it's about comedy. It's grown out of the college humor ethos. And so I think that's also probably why it feels so welcoming, because everyone likes to laugh. And I think laughing is like, so Rob Paulson used to say, laughter is the best medicine. And the best part is the refills are free. Something, I'm butchering his quote, but Rob
Mm-hmm.
Paulson, the famous voice actor, played Yakko, played Pinky, has played many characters, Donatello in the Ninja Turtles, Raphael in the old Ninja Turtles. Like, he had this saying that like laughter is one of the best medicines, and it can cost nothing. Like, there is a cost, of course, to Dropout, but like to make someone laugh doesn't cost you anything, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
cost them anything. And like, I think maybe you're finding that sense of community there too, because it feels good to laugh, and it makes you forget about what's going on in the world for a little bit too.
That, and I do think that like it. There was a point I was going to make that kind of like adds to the whole like Dropout as a religious experience, which is super over the top. Like I'm not like, I understand that is a crazy thing to say for a fucking streaming service, but I guess it's just that. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. It's you can tell someone is doing something different and special when people gravitate towards them. And I'm not talking about just the audience. If you look at what Dropout's done in the last year or so, where if you look at episodes of Game Changer, so like I'm a huge fan of the Comedy Bang Bang podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts I've been listening to for over a decade. I love that show. And there was guests on Comedy Bang Bang that now I realize were from College Humor and stuff, but I didn't quite understand it all. But now there's people who are like longtime Comedy Bang Bang regulars who were doing improv for years, and now they're like, oh, I can play in this new space. Paul F. Tompkins being one, who just seems like a lovely individual, by the way. He just seems like he's
Yes.
always down to try anything new with anybody. He's able to keep his humor like forever present and forever relevant. Just he does such a good job at like, I don't know, his improv I think is wonderful. But even like there's an episode coming out soon with Scott Aukerman and Lauren Lapkus and Paul F. Tompkins on the show Gastronauts, and I'm really excited to watch that because I love Scott Aukerman and what he does over at Comedy Bang Bang. And then you even see they have a new show that just came out called Crowd Control, and they're bringing in stand-ups to do like a game show version of crowd work. And it's really fucking good. It's such a creative idea, and that was also a spinoff from Game Changer, which came immediately. It almost seemed like they did the Game Changer episode. We're like, wow, this was a really great idea, and immediately went into production for Crowd Control, because the Crowd Control episode of Game Changer came out literally earlier this year, and with it, and the series premiere of Crowd Control came out like 3 weeks ago. It's 3 weeks ago as time of this recording. By the time this comes out, it'll be a couple months ago. But yeah, it kind of like when I grew up in Christianity and with my church, one of the things my parents always said was that you can always tell, like, if someone is truly walking with God, people will gravitate towards them. And not generally in the way I always interpret this, like, you're just not a preachy asshole. Obviously, as we've seen with evangelicals, what their version of walking with God is. I'm not going to go into all that, but like, that's how it always felt to me. And so seeing them kind of doing this, like, people are being drawn to them. And once again, I know I'm using religion as a comparison because of a personal experience that I'm going through currently. And at the time I first started getting into it, I understand I don't know why I keep clarifying. I just don't want people to think I'm that crazy. But people are drawn to them, and they're doing great stuff over there. So it's a wonderful. So many things are wonderful about the show, or about their shows in general. Yeah. So I want to move on though, because otherwise I don't really know where to go with that from there. That is a very heavy part of the conversation, but I want to talk about some of our favorite bits of content from them. We'll touch on the games at the end because we got to. But I've been talking a whole bunch with this. I want to start off with you. Just like, what are some of your, it could be favorite moments from a show, but like, just talk about some of your favorite shows or moments from shows, and just kind of like what you love about the show.
Sure. I mean, like, the flagships were Make Some Noise and Game Changer. So I like improv a lot. I have a lot of friends who are improvisers, and I like comedy kind of generally. It's my preference of like genre, I guess, though I like lots of other stuff. Comedy is always, if you can make me laugh, I think, like, the friends that I've gotten closest with are the ones that I know I can immediately make fun of and pick on, and we both get a good laugh, right? Like that's kind of my
Mhm.
test for a good friendship. It's why I get along with the worst podcaster ever, Dave Jackson, so well. It's totally not true. Dave is one of the best among us. But but uh but yeah, Game Changer specifically, and Make Some Noise. I think I liked Sam as a host. I've He has a lot of charisma and kind of really draws you in. He's clearly very smart, and as we found in especially this season of Game Changer, the most recent one, very plotting and maniacal. But also, I like Game Changer because and Make Some Noise because there's often a lot of video games within them. So as
Mhm.
we've mentioned, there are some actual video games that they've made as part of the competitions that have been played by the cast members that then have showed up on the web page as well. But then also just like so Make Some Noise, for those who don't know, is an improv show where Sam, the host, reads prompts to the contestants. The first round is they do them by themselves. The second round is they pair up in teams of two. And then the final round is all three of them improvising together. And there have been many prompts on that show that are about video games, whether it's Sonic or Mario or like enough specific video game references that Sam obviously plays video games. Like it is very
And you
clear.
know the cast in general has a lot of gamers on it.
Correct. And so like that is a big part of I think what drew me to that. And then Game Changer has video game mechanics. Like I said, not only have they designed games for the competitors to play, but also there's just a lot of inherent game design in the show itself.
Mhm.
The season finale of the current season, while I won't spoil it, literally like uses escape room mechanics. And so like it is, which there have been video game escape rooms and of course tons of real life in-person escape rooms. And so like that design of it also was always really intriguing to me. Also, there's just this idea of like a devilish imp who is making his friends do ridiculous things
Yep.
without them knowing, because the whole thing about Game Changer, for those again who may not know, is Game Changer is a game show where the game changes every show. And crucially, the contestants never know the game they're going to play until they arrive, with some
Mhm.
small exceptions
Yep.
or some shifts. And so, like, for example, one of the Game Changer episodes was an escape room where all of the contestants were locked in the green room and Sam was taunting them from a TV while they tried to figure out how to get out, right? Like,
Mhm.
there have been the stand-up show that they aired this season that now Jaquise Neal hosts, an actual show based around that was spun off. Make Some Noise, which was the name of an episode, which then spun off into a show. The famously the Noise Boys, Josh Rubin, Brennan Lee Mulligan, and Zach Oyama
Yep.
were in that Game Changer episode, and now they are always come back every season to Make Some Noise as the Noise Boys, the originators of the show, to play sometimes the original format, sometimes a new format. And like I really love kind of how Sam's brain works. Like my dream interview for Fun and Games is to have Sam on to talk about game design and talk about how video games have influenced him, especially when
Yeah.
creating something like Game Changer, because I'm sure he would have a lot to say about that. I'll keep screaming it out into the universe until it happens. I should have told Ash because I met Ash, the one of the assistants on Game Changer, in Salem when I was there for a friend's wedding. She was also there for a friend's wedding, a different friend. We didn't have the same friend, but I ran into her in a coffee shop. Her and her partner were absolutely lovely. I posted a photo online about it, which was very funny. I should have
That's
been like, oh, I
awesome.
got a pitch for Sam. Please tell Sam. But I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But yeah, I mean, those are the two biggest. Like I watch a ton of the shows though. Like I love Dirty Laundry. I'm a
Mhm.
big Lily Dew fan. Got to meet her as well, which was kind of incredible when she was in New York not that long ago. But like I also really love what's the show where you have to figure out the inaccuracies in a statement? It's the nerdy TV show. I'm blanking on
Oh,
the name of it now.
actually.
Actually, yes. Which is now currently hosted by Ify Wadiwe and is really great, and is a game show where they bring on three nerds, and Ify reads false statements, but you have to figure out what's false about it. And it's about a variety of different nerdy franchises, from Lord of the Rings to Star Wars to D&D to Mario to Sonic to Pokemon to whatever. And it's really entertaining. They do a lot of game shows, but then they even shows like Smarty Pants, which is hosted by Rekha Shankar, and it's like just 3 different comedians doing PowerPoint presentations basically about whatever topic they want, and then they discuss it, and it's usually very goofy and ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I could go on. I think my favorite thing about Dropout is its cast members and the
Mhm.
show hosts. I think you mentioned Very Important People, which is hosted by Vic Michaelis, who is an incredible host. They do such an awesome job with that show. And the conceit is Vic is playing a hyper like over the top version of themselves. That's this TV show host, and they bring on different guests. But the thing is, Vic doesn't know who they're going to be interviewing till they walk in, and the
Mhm.
people who are being put into these lavish or ridiculous costumes don't know who they're going to become until like they're not shown a mirror until after they're in the getup,
Yep.
and so they have to generate a character on the spot and then play into that character. I think it was Tommy Tiny Hands or something. There was a
Zach
character that
Oyama's
Zach
character.
Oyama played where he had these 2 little tiny hands, which you may have seen on TikTok, where you like hold them and they're these little hands, and then he had this like
I
weird
think it's like
big
Tommy
head made.
Scriggly was his name or something like
Yeah,
that.
and he was like a failed motivational speaker or something who sold like protein powder. Like the characters they come up with on the fly are really great. Like I know Paul F. Tompkins has done it a bunch, so is Iffy. Like, but like all of these concepts are just so clever and fun, and like clearly these cast members really like each other a lot, and get along really well because they play in these spaces together really easily, which is a lot of fun as well. Like I don't know if you got to watch it, Josh. Izzy and Brennan did a recording of their 2-person long form improv show called
I have
Bigger.
not yet. Bigger. Yeah, I've been meaning to though.
It's incredible, and like it's full of running gags, and like the 2 of them are really funny together, like, and so it's not even at this point, it's not even just produced shows, but like a bunch of comedy specials have been there on there. Adam Conover's newest comedy special is on there, which I haven't watched yet, but I heard is very good. Like it's just it's really interesting how it's grown and how it's been doing so well. But yeah, so that, I mean, there's a lot of rambling about a variety of things that I like about the network and the shows, and there are tons of iconic moments. I'm having trouble thinking of some.
Well,
I mean, I one of the biggest ones for me last year is 2 of my favorite comedians were on last season for Make Some Noise. Pete Holmes, who I've loved forever, was
he's
incredible,
so good in that episode.
so funny, and Ben Schwartz is one of my favorite improvisers of all time. I love him as Sonic. I love him in so many different shows that he's been in. He was so good on Make Some Noise last year. It looks like he's going to be on the new season again this year.
Mhm.
Like, and that's what I love about the shows too, is like when they bring like quote unquote celebrity guests, it's people who fit the shows and the formulas. It's not just people who are famous for the
Yeah.
sake
Well,
of
they
the
had
clicks
Wayne
or the
Brady
attention.
on. They had Wayne Brady on Make Some Noise.
He was incredible. Yeah, they did a sing-along one, also rumored to be spinning off into its own show, as they do a version of Make Some Noise with musical professionals who can do improvised singing, which is something Wayne Brady is absolutely known for from his days on Who's Line. And so, like, that rumor is being rumored to be spun off into a separate show, but is also a different version of a show. Like, Make Some Noise is at a point now where it's also had so many different great bits that have repeated that
Mhm.
those may become something else. It's like they really are good at organically growing within their own shows to make new shows when they find a prompt or a concept that works.
Absolutely. And like it's, man, there's so many things I want to jump in on. So the first thing, just because you brought up Ben Schwartz, this is a more of an observation. I love him too. I love Ben Schwartz. I think he's phenomenal. I love on Netflix he has that Middleditch and Schwartz series,
Very,
which
very
is
good.
so good. One thing that I noticed about Ben Schwartz, and this is a compliment, he is one of the most intense listeners I've
Hmm.
ever witnessed. Like when he is in a conversation with you, he gives you his undivided attention.
Hmm.
Like I've seen it in like interviews, both like professional like interviews for like promoting stuff, as well as like when he sits down and he does like Comedy Bang Bang or something like that. He is intensely listening to what you say, and he is very engaged in everything. Like active listening, I think, is a very underrated skill
Hmm.
that, and I think he is one of the best at it. I always tell, when I decide to get on a soapbox and talk about, like, here's how to podcast, kids, that kind of stuff. That is one of the things I always talk about, and also
Yep.
get inspiration from things that are outside of your niche. Ben Schwartz is actually an inspiration for Still Loading, not because I can do improv or anything nearly as funny as he can, but because of his active listening. Because you look at it and you see how he pays attention to what's happening in the scenes around him that he's improvising on the spot, or how he listens to his fellow improvisers, or how he listens to the interviewer when he is being interviewed. A phenomenal improviser, and just seems like a genuinely good dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched him on, so I've been obsessed with Last Meals recently, which is on Mythical Kitchen. I've become obsessed with the host of that show, Josh, who is a chef. And when he was on, like, was intensely listening, not only to answer the questions, but then to then comment on the same things they talked about later, to like bring it back. Like, I imagine that active listening has been his, like, the magic key to his improv. I mean, he does
Mhm.
so many other things too, but like, for sure, that doesn't hurt. The fact that he's such a good active listener must make the long form improv that he's doing so much easier, because he can take in so much information and then
Yeah.
spit it back out in these funny ways.
God, I'm jealous of that. For
Yeah.
myself though, to actually dive into the specific things on my end that I love, like the different shows that I really like. We touched on Crowd Control, really great. The most recent episode at the time this was recording had John Marco Soresi, Paul F.
Hmm.
Tompkins, and I can't remember the other other comedian's name. Jamie Loftus is the other comedian on that one. Um,
Hmm.
and that was phenomenal. Dirty Laundry, my wife has particularly enjoyed, because it's
Hmm.
friends gossiping, but in like a very, like, what honestly, it's the only time I think gossip is just about permissible, because everyone has consent about sharing the dirty laundry about
Yeah.
each other. It's a really good show. That's a really fun show. Um, Gastronauts is one of my personal favorites. For those who like cooking shows, Gastronauts is phenomenal. It's basically, if you have a cooking show, they'll bring on three guest judges. The host is Jordan Myrick, and they bring on three guest judges, and then they bring on three different chefs, like professional chefs. In most cooking shows, the challenge is something like, oh, you have to make this incredibly challenging dish in a time that you would not expect to be able to make it in. It's kind of different with this, where it's, instead of like testing skills, it's a test of skills. Don't get me wrong, it's more of a test of creativity, because the guest judges, which are usually dropout cast members, or, as I mentioned before, Paul F. Tompkins and Scott Aukerman, and like they've brought in other people who are not part of the dropout cast, but they are like either friends with them or this and that. What is it, in season 2 so far? They had on like Cameron Esposito. There was someone else that was like a bigger name. I can't remember what. They have a lot of the Smosh people on. A lot of times, Smosh
Hmm.
interact with them a lot. Also, in the Try Guys, the remaining Try Guys,
Hmm.
they show
The
up a
two
lot.
Try Guys.
The two of the Try Guys show up a lot.
Hmm.
Is Eugene still part of the Try Guys?
I have no idea.
I haven't
I
watched their
only
stuff in ages.
ancillarily know the Try Guys. They're pretty
Okay.
funny, but I don't know their stuff super well.
Anyway, actually, I forget anymore. I know the one left, and we're not going to talk about him. I could have sworn. Anyway, I don't know enough of the name, so I apologize to any Try Guys fans out there. Um, but they come on, but what they do is the guest judges will dictate the challenges. So, like the first episode, you can actually watch the first episode for free on YouTube. It's Brennan Lee Mulligan, his wife Izzy Rowland, and Oscar Montoya. And Brennan's first challenge is like, I want you to make the heaviest, densest meal possible. That's the only stipulation he gives them. It just has to be dense, and the meal is graded on how much, like, obviously taste and presentation, but the what it is primarily rated on and judged on is how heavy it is. There was another episode with Ife Wadiwe where he doesn't want to be interrupted while gaming, so they give one of those horse feed muzzle things, and they have to create a meal in the horse muzzle, and he has to be able to eat it while gaming. It is ridiculous ideas like that, and absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite shows for that reason. It's just such a fun idea because not only is it fun to see what the chefs come up with, it's fun to see what challenges are given. And there's also a little twist at the end that I don't want to spoil for those who have not seen it. So
I'll have to watch it. I've not actually seen Gastronauts, but I love Jordan, and I've been wanting to watch it for a bit. So you've really sold me on it. It's funny, you reminded me of something. My favorite thing about this network, full stop, is the running gags. Like, Josh, where are you from? And see, Josh gets it and laughs because so there's this running gag if you've not watched Game Changer, where in one of the episodes where I think a bunch of the cast members have to pitch Sam on like products. I forget who started it, but one of the cast members asked Sam where he was from, which is Cambridge, Massachusetts. And so then they all starting their pitches with, "Hey, Sam, where are you from?" And so now Sam gets stopped on the street when people see him and ask him where he's from. And it's just, it like things like that go above and beyond these shows, I think is some of my favorite part because it's instant. Like it's like running gags with your friends, right? It's
Mhm.
like any kind of it's an inside joke, but with millions of people, right? And I really love that kind of stuff. And I feel like all of the shows have that in one form or another.
Brennan specifically has two to his
Yeah.
name right now.
Birds.
The Birds is the first one. Eddie, for those who haven't seen it, you might have seen it in your perusings on social media, where basically it was a Game Changer episode where Brendan was on and two other I forget I think Jess. I forget Jess's last name. I feel so bad. I can't remember the other two comedians on it, but they were basically the name of the game was just name the birds. And so the first one up is like a penguin or some shit like that, like something really basic. And then the next one up is like a chicken. And then it comes to Brennan as a third one, and his is something crazy. Like the greater sage grouse was one of the answers.
Yep.
Siamese
Also the
fireback.
something spoonbill. I can't remember it.
Rosate spoonbill.
Spoonbill.
That's what it
Yeah.
was. A rosate spoonbill.
Yeah.
And because of Ed Brennan, the game in that specific episode was they had to keep their heart rate low. So
Yeah.
once again, one of the genius things about it, that whole entire bonus round, which is that bird thing, was designed specifically to fuck over Brennan. How could
To get his heart rate
Brennan
up. Yeah.
deal with losing?
Yep.
And that's what I think, like, even take out like the parasocial relationships that we've been like that I was talking about before, and like the camaraderie and community vibe you get from the Dropout network. It also, like, to what you were saying, Matt, about the game design of it, what makes what makes Dropout content unique is that they cater especially in Game Changer, they cater the games around the talent. So
Yeah.
if there's an episode in this most recent season where it was basically they all had to do a task and try their best, and they all thought they were competing against each other, and then they find out midway through the episode that they had to try to do it again, but beat themselves. They had to beat their own attempt at beforehand. And one of Brennan's long running jokes is like, "Why do you always find a way to punish people for trying their best?" That is,
Yeah.
he gets so upset at Sam for that. And then I'm not going to spoil there's a little bit of a twist at the end of that episode too.
Yeah.
It's just great. One of the other shows that I did not watch all of it, but I've seen a large chunk of it, is Parlor Room, which if y'all like, just if you want, it's a show about board games pretty much. It's Becca Scott is the host, and she there's like not really a guest host, but there's a specific like person that chooses the game. Like she'll bring on for example, the first episode, Paul Robolino, who is usually a producer behind the scenes, but has since kind of stepped in front of the camera to have a bit of a personality for himself and be able to kind of show off some of his comedic chops. He picks a game called Wavelength, and then then I believe that person picks the other people that get invited onto the show with them. In the second episode, Vic Michaelis chooses the game, and they chose a game called Cash and Guns. It is absolute insanity. That episode is really funny to watch, but it is absolute insanity. so each episode they have someone come on and they pick a game, and that same person will then pick the other people to join them in the parlor room to play the game together. So it's fun because it feels like friends just getting together to have a game night, not necessarily video games, but board games. Are you playing Catan? Are you playing Monopoly, God forbid, or something like that? And the midway point of every episode has a little fun segment called Hors d'oeuvres, where the same guest who picked the game has picked a snack for everyone to share and eat.
Amazing.
And the you found out with some of the conversations that like some of the guests picked too boring of snacks, so production was like, no, you need to give us like weird options. So so some of the hors d'oeuvres are a little bit like purposely chosen to be goofy or silly or nonsensical. So it's a fun show. I have not watched all of it because like most of the episodes are 30 to 40 minutes, but as the season goes on, there's an episode where it's a lot of D&D players, and it's the game that's being played is called Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
Oh yeah, it's a tabletop RPG
Yes.
about thirsty sword lesbians. Yeah, I have a copy of it. I've yet to play it, but
and
I've
that
heard
episode
great
is
things.
an hour and 25 minutes.
Of course it
so
is.
it's like I can't really that's so much time.
Right.
So yeah, but they bring in a bunch of different people to they bring in a bunch of different people and not always just like Dropout cast members. It's people that like they're kind of outside of it too, but it's a fun show. It's not like I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but it's one that I enjoy watching, and I was excited for every episode that came out. Yeah, and like Make Some Noise, obviously we've already touched on, but I gotta shout out specifically the episode where my favorite clip of that entire one is Jacob Wysocki, who is a goddamn hero. I love Jacob Wysocki. Him and Vic, their prompt is going to Mr. Mayo's restaurant and ordering a sandwich without mayo or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
that was a good one.
Absolute insanity and one of my favorite prompts in the entire show. I think it might be fun too. Like, I don't know if you have an answer for this, but I think it might be fun to like talk about who is one of the more underrated Dropout cast members.
Oh, I mean, it's funny. I like
wonderful,
them all so much. Yeah, they're all incredible. I mean, like Kurt, I've only seen more recently, and I really like Kurt a lot. He's one of Jacob Wysocki's closest friends. He's been on Make Some Noise a bunch. I'm blanking on Kurt's last name.
Maloney, I believe.
Maloney, yes. But I really like him a lot. I mean, it's funny. I have an unhealthy obsession with Grant. He's terrible in all the best ways, and so I just kind of love Grant O'Brien.
Yes.
Especially after the dating episode of Game Changer, where they turned the whole episode of Game Changer was surprise. It's The Bachelor with Grant. Grant, you're the Bachelor, and it was a legit, sincere dating show. Yeah, I mean, God, there's so many great.
I can tell you at least mine. I can tell you mine.
Yeah, please tell me yours. I'm gonna rack my brain, but tell me yours. Oh, yeah, sure.
I love Anna Garcia. She is the best kind of manic energy. She is insane in so many of the things that she does. In the Very Important People show that you referenced before, Matt, she's on the first episode of it, and she plays like this pop star who's super self-absorbed, but she's so goofy. Princess Emily. She's really great.
I remember. Yeah,
she's really funny in that. Also, it's somewhat. She's not really a Dropout cast member, but she's kind of honorary. Lisa Gilroy.
Lisa Gilroy's the best. Every time the first Make Some Noise episode she was on, where she was just combative with Sam the whole time because they're best friends, and like every prompt, like there was some prompt about like a Twitch streamer like getting her period or something, and she just made it like a self-righteous feminist rant against Sam, and like, why would you make a prompt like this? Oh yeah, I'm a woman, so obviously, like, it was just the best. And like, I mean, I think my favorite underrated cast member is probably Eric Ishii. I mean, I just love them anyway because they're great. But like every time they're on, they're this unhinged goblin, and they just like like just basically cause chaos, and it's
Mhm.
always entertaining, whether it's either like on the current season when they did the who's actually drunk game show where you were trying to figure out which
Yes.
cat. Oh, the secret sober. It was the secret sober. Like everyone was playing a drinking game, but one of them was secretly sober. They were great on that. Yeah, I think if I had to pick one cast member who I would love to see utilize more, it's probably Eric Ishii. I quite adore them.
I've been trying to get Erica Ishii on the podcast. I actually found the I have no idea if this worked. So they did have a website, a personal
Hmm.
website where you have, there was a contact page and all this other stuff. That website's not up anymore. However, it was up on the Internet Archive, and I submitted a contact thing from that. No idea if it worked. They have not reached out to me, so I'm assuming
Yeah,
not. But I was like, fuck it, I'll try it. I'll see if I can get
sure,
Erica
why not?
Ishii on there. Um, another, this isn't like an underrated Dropout cast member, but another one of my favorite episodes, and it was specifically the clips from this episode is what like was like kind of like the final drop or the final straw for me, being like fuck it, I'm gonna get Dropout. It was Bobby Moynihan on Very Important People, where he played a character named Dan Wesley Sharon, who was a man just frozen. He was frozen in the 1980s, and he just woke up. And the clip that got me, that just completely like there was like a PA that came in and handed him a coffee, and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And he goes, "Why is he wearing that mask? Did something happen?" And and then Vic just looks at the camera like, he goes, "You know what? I had to wear a mask one time when I went on tour of the World Trade Centers. How are those doing?"
Oh my
And
god.
then there's one other final clip, and Vic is just like staying in character, but like clearly trying to hold it in. And then he's like, "I want to, tour the World Trade Center. How are those doing?" And then quiet, and then it cuts back to Bobby, and he goes, "How's Bill Cosby?" And Vic just breaks and could not stop laughing. Just the quick escalation of just bad thing, awful thing, awful thing. Just it was so well done comedically. It's wonderful. And Bobby Moynihan, shout out to Bobby. He's got a podcast on Comedy Bang Bang World called Who Me, where he plays the Batman, not Batman, the Batman. And the whole show is a premise of Batman interrogating people and accusing them of murdering his parents.
Amazing.
And it is one of the funniest podcasts. If you have a little bit of extra money to spare and you like Comedy Bang Bang, it's worth it for that show alone. It is so fucking funny. But and actually, I want to say Lisa Gilroy's probably been on that at some point too. But in any case, so that's a lot of the content over at Dropout. And Matt, unless there's anything else you would like to shout out, we should at least touch on the games before we wrap up this episode.
Sure, sounds good to me.
Yeah. So there's a handful of games on their website. Snowboard the Best, Survive the Maze, Crack the Captcha. One I did not really do, but you can. It's not a game. It's more of an app, and I'm just going to call out of here because it's not anything that you could really play. It's called Buttling Buddy. And do you know what I'm talking about here, Matt?
I do. But why don't you explain it to our wonderful audience?
So in one of the Game Changer episodes, which actually the person who came up with this idea also I think is an underrated cast member, though she is gradually becoming a fan favorite, I feel like, if she's not already one. The one of the things was propose a visual effect to go here. That was the prompt on Game Changer. And so Izzy Rowland basically just said, I just want buttholes everywhere. Literally cartoon buttholes all over the place. So you can download a Chrome extension to add Izzy's buttling friend, the basically the cartoon caricature of a butthole to to your browser for Chrome. You can just add it to your browser extension and go from there and just have buttholes all over your browser.
Yeah, I have not downloaded it, but it's very funny. That episode, if you've not seen, is probably peak comedy because nothing's funnier than buttholes.
Nothing is funnier than buttholes. And I'm a little a little like real world thing here, not involving buttholes, but just bear with me. Um I don't know if you saw this on Discord today at all, Matt, or like on Blue Sky. Did you see that Spotify recently added like AI generated like chapters for episodes?
I did. Apparently, my one of Fun and Games has them. I don't know
You
when
can
that
turn them off
happened.
if you don't want them,
Okay.
but it is really amusing seeing what the AI bot listens to the episode and what chapters they choose. I'm really hoping when this episode gets out, there's an entire chapter dedicated to buttholes, and that's what the name of the chapter will be in some way, shape, or form.
That would be great.
Because let me tell you, on the Mario episodes, my Mario Super Show episodes, they I won't read all of them, but just to give you a little taste of one of the ones, the one chapter they just called Toad's Acrobatics and Fry Guy's Loan Shark Plot. Out of context, what the fuck does that mean? It's such
Yeah, like what does that mean?
You have to watch the show or listen to the episode. So I'm really hoping that people are going to this episode's going to come out and Spotify is going to have a whole section dedicated. And because we've actually spent some extended time on this, there may just be the butthole segment. We'll find out.
I mean, we can only hope.
We can only hope.
We'll have made it if that happens.
But the other games that are actual games, there's Power Up Jacob, which is a button masher, Crack the Captcha, which is a puzzle game, Survive the Maze, which is kind of a combination of puzzle and trial and error game, and then Snowboard the Best, which that was the one I was the worst at. That is really challenging.
I mean, snowboard the best is basically ski free, but with Sam on a snowboard, and it's very hard.
It is, because you have to like your forward momentum. It almost feels like tank controls in a snowboard game.
Yeah, I mean, none of these games are meant to be like infinitely playable. They're meant to be challenging on a level that seems bordering on unfair. I mean, Survive the Maze is fun because even though it's really hard, it's basically memorization. The things that quote unquote kill you aren't always even things that could kill you. Like, I think one of them is you find a toothbrush and now you have fresh breath, but you die from it or whatever. Like things like that, which I think is very funny. Like the writing that some of the games have is also fun. The Power Up Jacob one is great because basically now it's a meme that Jacob is the Super Saiyan because for the same episode where you had to propose a visual effect here, Jacob proposed going Super Saiyan and shooting a Kamehameha, basically. And so they made a game for the episode this season where you basically just mash the space bar to power up Jacob. And he gets to different versions of Super Saiyan, which is great.
And that was done specifically for one of the episodes of Game Changer, which this is a slight spoiler, but I don't think it doesn't ruin the episode because I think the episode itself is just really sweet, where basically they do a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire parody, but the whole premise of it is just Jacob winning $1 million, and it's the only time they've actually taken any sponsorship money. Like LinkedIn sponsored the episode, but all the sponsorship money went to Jacob's prize. So it's like it's a way for them to get sponsorships, but in like a ethical way, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
just very sweet. So yeah, that they brought it back for this season in a very fun and sweet way. The Survive the Maze game I thought was weird, and it really kind of threw me for a loop because it's not just necessarily straight up memorization. There's actually some puzzle elements to it because you have to essentially explore a maze till you find a manhole to fall in, and the game says you die, but when you start it up again, you are suddenly in a different maze. Like the maze layout has suddenly changed. And I remember being so confused by that at first because I was like, why is it that when I die, sometimes the maze changes and then other times it doesn't? And it took me a little bit to realize, it only happens when I fall into the manhole. And the game doesn't tell you that the maze is going to change. So it really just requires you to actually be paying attention.
Yep. Yeah. It's clever little mini game design. Like none of these games are super engaging, like as a bit for the episodes, and then the fact that they actually exist as games on a website that you can play is still very fun.
The last one that I want to touch on real quick is the crack the captcha, because
Oh, I couldn't do it. I was so bad at it.
that game is so. What the premise of it is, it's like, if it's actually, it's funny, in my job I actually have to deal with captcha stuff a lot, which I tell you off mic more why that is, because I actually can't say on mic, which I know sounds very cryptic and vague. I mean, it is, but it's not for any cool reason. I can't say it for my work. Um, but a lot of times when you're dealing with captchas, it's always, like, there's like a total of 9 squares, and it's like, select all the bridges, or select all the bicycles, or something like that. They take, it's honestly a really good joke, like genuinely funny ideas. The first captcha is select all images where it's Sunday morning,
Yep.
and that is very hard to figure out at first. Each one kind of has like I forget exactly what it was. It it's there is a logic to it, believe it or not. So
Yeah.
I had to look up the answer. So for example, for which one is Sunday morning, the pictures that you see a couple reading like comics. You see, like, in a newspaper, you see a woman, like, with her head down at a computer, at a laptop, like, stressed about something. You see a couple watching TV. You see a dude and a guy and a girl drinking a cup of coffee in, like, some cafe. You see another woman drinking a cup of coffee at her laptop. You see, it looks like another couple, like a separate couple, drinking coffee at a coffee shop. And then you see kind of like 2 different pictures of a mom, like a family at like at like a kitchen table. And then you see a dude in a church. So the church one is pretty straight obvious. Like, okay, that's Sunday morning, right? That makes sense.
Right.
But the way they kind of get you is that the one with the comic strips is also it, because it's the Sunday funnies.
Bunnies. Yeah. I
Uh,
figured that one out. I couldn't get past the next one, which is select all the images where the sky is cyan, because mostly I just don't know what color cyan is.
it's a weird teal blue, but not teal.
Yeah.
I hate that type of
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. It's really funny.
I actually can't even remember what the third picture that you're supposed to select is for the Sunday morning in church. I'm trying just like everything right now to see if I could get it. No, that one didn't work. God damn it! I'm going to get it before this episode's over.
I think it's just the Sunday funnies and the
Oh, you're
church.
right. It's only 2, because normally they also throw you for a loop there, where it's like it's only 2. You're right.
Yeah.
And then the cyan one is extra weird, because it's like 4 different ones that you have to choose. I looked that up. I
Yeah.
did not know it for sure off the top of my head. It was like the 2 wheat fields, and then like something with palm trees. That was right. It was 4 different
Yeah.
images, because the third one is select all
Oh,
images containing men with some degree of internalized misogyny.
yeah. Which is like, yeah, it's very silly. It's good joke writing. Yeah, I have no idea what the answer to this one would be, but yeah, no, I think that, and I don't think that one's appeared in an episode. I think they just made that one, which I think is even better. Or if it appeared in an episode, it wasn't Game Changer, because I don't remember seeing it.
I'm not sure. I don't remember. It also could have been one of the ones, because a lot of these like crack the captcha stuff, like it was in like usually like the Survivor episodes, that kind of thing.
Oh
And
yes,
if
that's right.
no
Yeah,
one got past it, then you might
yeah,
not have seen it, type of thing.
right. They would have just like axed the segment if it didn't end up yielding interesting results.
Mhm. That's another thing to say about that. They have great editing on these shows. They really know how to cut it for comedy well.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
uh, I don't have much more to say. I do want to just give a shout out, a quick little like shout out to Dimension 20. I know you said you haven't watched most of that stuff, so I can go into that. But is there anything else you'd like to touch on before I talk about Dimension 20?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, Dimension 20s is one of those things where, like, when I'm watching this stuff, it's like I don't listen to actual play podcasts because I can't focus on a narrative for that
Yes.
long. And so, like, Dimension 20 is tough. Also, it'd probably be easier because there's video accompanying it, which actually make it easier for me. But there's a show, there's a spinoff of Dimension 20 that I'm going to try and find the name of. That Brennan does, where it's an interview show that he does that I also really like.
Oh
That
yes, it's
Dropout.
oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about too. It's not Adventuring Party. That is like the offshoot of
Adventuring Academy is the name of it.
Adventuring.
I got there.
I've listened to a few of those episodes too. He did one with Sam Reich that was really interesting
It's
because
so
it's
good.
basically just a podcast, but
Yeah.
with like D&D in mind. And one of the fun bits of it is that basically what he does is that there is a um they will have like his guest for it will have like a D&D hot take, and regardless of whether he agrees or disagrees, he has to take the opposite opinion. He has to go on the opposite
Right.
side, which is really fun and really interesting. It creates a really interesting dynamic for that. So that's really fun. I enjoy that quite a bit.
There's also a running gag in that also is from other episodes where Brennan's favorite snack is almonds, like unflavored, unseasoned, like regular old almonds. And so like in the Sam episode, he brings out like artisanal almonds to try a bunch of different like flavored ones
Yep.
as a running gag, which I just thought was very funny also. Um, yeah, Adventuring Academy is pretty great. But yeah, why don't you talk about Dimension 20 a bit?
So for those who love Dungeons and Dragons, of course, Dimension 20 is their live play series, and there's a lot of series. There's 26 seasons of it because they can do like each season is only about like usually about 10 episodes, but some of their earlier ones, like the first season ever, is called Fantasy High. And that one is like 17 episodes, and the episodes are long because it's live play, so it's like an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 20 minutes, like sometimes 2 hours long, sometimes even three. But they do there's a whole bunch of seasons. They kind of have like the Intrepid Heroes cast, which is like the main cast of Dimension 20. And Dimension 20, from my understanding, it was added to Dropout because when Sam took over Dropout from College Humor, he wanted to find something that was like a lower budget type of thing to do. And like live play stuff, comparatively to other shows, is lower budget, right? Like they
Right.
can film, they have to film all in one location. They generally don't have a whole bunch of like crazy special effects that they need to do. Most of the budget goes into the prop making, which is amazing. The props are incredible, and Brendan does a great job of shouting out the people who create the props for the show. But each series has like a different theme to it. Like Fantasy High is the one of the ones that has continuation. Also, the Unsleeping City is another one that's a continuation. But then the Intrepid Heroes are kind of like the main cast members. It's Allie Beardsley, it's Siobhan Thompson, it's Lou Wilson, it's Zach Oyama. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on there. Emily Radford. What's her name? I cannot remember. I'll look it up.
Emily Axford.
Emily Axford. Thank you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then actually also her husband Brian Murphy, and then Brennan Lee Mulligan as the DM. And so they are the ones that are the most consistent throughout everything. They were on a lot of the seasons. They've done 9 of the 26 seasons, but then they have guest casts for a lot of the other different the other seasons. Famous DM Matt Mercer was on Escape from the Bloodkeep. I believe he might know Brennan DM'd that, but Matt played it. They had the McElroy brothers from what's their? Do you remember what their podcast is? It's like Adventure Zone.
My brother, and me.
That's their main show,
And
but
the Adventure Zone.
the Adventure
Yeah.
Zone is their live play one, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
One of my personal favorites, and my wife watched all of it, was Dungeons and Drag Queens. And
Yes, that's also really fun.
it is fantastic. It is fantastic. There is 2 seasons of that. And then in Mentopolis, Hank Green was on that one. And shout out to one of my favorite OG YouTubers, Freddie Wong. He's on that one. Never Stop Blowing Up is a great one because it's like an 80s action ripoff spoof, and Jake Wysocki is on it. Rekha Shankar, Izzy is in it, and it's funny. Izzy is, I think, her most unhinged in that series. It's wonderful. And the most recent guest cast was just earlier this year, Titan Takedown, where they had professional wrestlers on to play D&D. They had Xavier Woods, Bailey, Kofi, I think it's Kofi Kingston and Chelsea Green, and it was awesome. It was absolutely one of my favorite. I watched that whole thing. Now I'm not like I'm a Dimension 20 fan, but like I said before, these are very long episodes, so it's kind of hard to watch them sometimes. Like their newest season is called Cloudward Ho, and I don't know. Honestly, it'll probably be over soon. Actually, maybe not, because they just released they have a mid-season recap at episode 17. So holy shit, like that's a lot. They're up to episode 16 so far, and there is a lot of stuff going on. So like each episode is over 2 hours long, just about. There's a handful under, but for the most part they're 2 to 2.5 hours long, and that's a lot of time to devote. And if you're 16 episodes already, multiply 16 by 2, you're already at 32 hours of content on just that series. So I only get to watch this stuff when I kind of have like some downtime, or I can like I have less editing to do or less recording to do. But it's
Right.
Dimension 20 is a ton of fun. It's funny. There's like genuine moments of like there's genuine like serious and emotional moments at times. And it also ended up, because of the success of that, Dimension 20 is I think up there with Critical Role as like the two biggest live play productions. I mean, for fuck's sake, they sold out Madison Square Garden.
Yep, they
Dimension,
sure did.
which is
And
crazy.
Brennan is hosting or DMing rather the newest Critical Role campaign
Yeah,
also, which is exciting. Yeah.
it is bonkers what they've been able to grow with it. And that even spun off, like that success has spun off into independent projects, independent of college or Dropout and Critical Role and any of this other stuff. Brennan, Erica Ishii, Abria Iyengar, and Lou Wilson have a show called Worlds Beyond Number. Have you listened to any of that?
No.
No. It's like you're saying, it can be hard to listen to something narrative intensive. This is extremely narrative intensive. It is one of it there's how can I put this? Dimension 20, it's a D&D, it's a live play show with a lot of comedy, and it's
Mhm.
geared towards comedy. The Worlds Beyond Number podcast is geared towards narrative and very serious narrative. I'm only halfway through the series. I actually finished the first season, and I took a break because I binged the first season, something fierce. Like the first 14 episodes, and once again, episodes are an hour and a half to like 2 hours long, and it is some of the best storytelling I've ever listened to. The first campaign they're playing with this is called The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One.
Mhm.
And first off, Be Still My Narnia Loving Heart. That title is very similar to, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But it is some of like the most emotional storytelling, because Erica, Abria, Brennan's DMing, Erica, Abria, and Lou are playing, and they are like committing to character roles. Like Abria plays like a really unlikable character, and while she is obviously pleasant when she is talking to all her friends and everything, the character that she plays is very kind of like has anger issues and says things that she probably shouldn't, and makes choices that I wouldn't make. And I'm listening to this and I'm getting upset at her. But I'm like, why are you doing this, Abria? But that's not her. That's her character that she created, and it really fits the narrative amazingly well. It's so fucking good. I cannot say enough kind things about Worlds Beyond Number, and specifically what I've listened to so far, which is a lot of content of it, but The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One, like absolutely fantastic. Okay, that's all I got for Dimension 20. I guess we can wrap up this episode now, Matt. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to touch on with Dropout in general, or just something that maybe I had my Ben Schwartz diversion in the beginning. Any it could be anything even like that. But any final thoughts or anything you want to touch on before we wrap up?
I mean, I think the reason I gravitated to Dropout so much is because it's comedy forward, because I really like what they're doing, because they let Brennan have multiple anti-capitalist rants, sometimes in the same episode. Like I like they're aligned, they're very queer forward, they're very POC forward, they're very like giving a platform to underrepresented people. Sam being a white and I believe straight person, maybe he's bi, I'm not positive. Like really uses his platform to showcase the talent of so many other people, and like I just kind of really love what they're doing. You know, they've done charity events, they've donated to incredibly great causes. Like I think that Dropout is doing the kinds of things we wish a lot of other streaming platforms would do, and are kind of putting their money where their mouth is, right? Especially when they're donating to a charity or like supporting underrepresented demographics. And I really think that if you're looking for somewhere to put your money, maybe you recently canceled Hulu or Disney Plus because of something that happened in the news recently, maybe throw that money at Dropout, because I think they're going to use it a lot better than say a company like Disney is, as much as I love Disney. And yeah, I'm grateful to have joined you for this episode. I really like talking about it. I was bummed to not, like, when my TV and a movie podcast went under, not being able to talk about some of this stuff, because I just started getting into it as that show was winding down. And yeah, and I guess the other thing I'll say is like, I like a lot of the cast members, but I think there's something special about Brennan Lee Mulligan. Like he
Yes.
doesn't filter his thoughts. He says things that are fact and that should be understood and followed, and like is just very smart and very much is not afraid to talk about standing up for the little guy, you know, the kinds of things that are wrong with this country, that's wrong in the media, that, you know, is wrong with capitalism. And some of it is stuff that we all fall victim to. But I think I feel this kinship to him as a person because of how open he is, and how he does everything he can to like, you know, platform people who couldn't actually have that access or reach those audiences on their own. He's very open about how inclusive D&D should be, specifically when talking about D&D. You know, it's fine to play with less numbers. It's fine to make any kind of character. You should always be not trying to kill your players and support them, unless it's for the lulz. Like he's just very much a passionate person that I respect and admire, and he's what brought me to Dropout, and I'm glad that I stayed for so many of the other incredible creative people. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about how much I appreciate him and think that he's out there saying the damn thing that most of us are thinking, and will continue to do it.
I'm 100% with you on that, man. I think what's interesting about Brennan too is that he feels, and I think he would genuinely put an effort into it too. Like obviously it would be physically impossible to do this, but I feel like he could be friends with every single person. I feel
Yes.
like he leads with empathy better than I've seen any other person I could think of. Like even I watched the behind the scenes of their live from Madison Square Garden, and I didn't watch the Madison Square Garden show because I you know I didn't see the other Sleeping City seasons of it, so I didn't want to kind of like spoil anything with that. But watching just like how generous he is with the spotlight to the cast members. And I think it's a fine line, because you don't want to be so humble that you like take away from your own abilities, but at the same time you don't want to be like you have to realize it's more than just about you. And I think he walks that line really, really well. He is
Agreed.
one of the smartest people I think I've ever seen speak, and you can even tell just when he goes off on rants and monologues how he's able to riff off the top of his head so easily. It's because he's got a fucking encyclopedia up there. He can just like he has an almanac of information going on up there. It is crazy. And but the thing is like he also, I mean, I didn't mean to turn this into like a Brendan appreciation finale, but there sometimes when someone is so incredibly smart, they come off as arrogant because of that intelligence, and I've never gotten that vibe from Brennan.
Same. Yeah, totally agree.
He comes off as smart, and if someone doesn't know something, he doesn't think less of them. He's just like, all right, this is cool because now I get, it's almost like he's excited to share the knowledge as opposed to
Yeah.
use it as like some type of gatekeeping mechanism, um and also I think more germane to you, he's a New Yorker. He fucking loves
He
New
is.
York. He talks about his love for New York City all the time,
It's true.
and it's awesome. I love, he had a whole rant on something where he's like, I think it's like one of the reasons New York is the best and something that people need to do is like to go out and just walk around a city just so that way you can be yelled at by people, just so you can be in this throng of humanity and just kind of understand people a little bit more.
Yeah.
I love Brendan Lee Mulligan, man. He is so fucking funny, but also one of the smartest, most kind people. Granted, this is from an outsider's perspective. I don't know the man personally, but he this is not meant, is going to come off kind of weird. He reminds me of me. I'm not anywhere near as fucking, I'm not smart. He is a fucking genius, but like he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I think I do as well. It's almost like game recognizes game in that aspect, where it's like I can see the genuineness in how he delivers his, like how he speaks and how he treats other people, at least from what I can tell. So I don't know. He just seems like a good dude. And shout out to Brendan, man. If you want to come on either of our podcasts, link in the show notes. I don't know.
Exactly.
But all right. Yeah, I love Dropout. I think we've said plenty about the streaming service. Once again, and it's kind of especially weird, we end with a Brennan love session where he has so many anti-capitalist messages, and technically we are shilling for a streaming service in a very we're not getting paid for it, so I guess it's not all that capitalist, but still it's kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, let's wrap up this episode, Matt. Thank you once again for joining me, man. This was so much fun. It was great to finally get a chance to really just kind of gush about like why I love what they do over at Dropout so much. So thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I was a blast to get to gush about it as well. I'm just as big a Dropout fan and glad that I connected you to this world. And I'm glad that we got to chat about it.
Absolutely. So for my listeners who may have not heard you on previous episodes or want to hear more of your work, where can the good people find you online, and what would you like to promote?
Sure. So the best place to find me is at djstormageddon.com. You can find links to all my podcasts, my merch store, or Patreon for my podcast, all of that good stuff. And if you want to interact with me online, djstormageddon.com at Blue Sky or DJ_Stormageddon on Instagram are the places I am most active. As for promoting, I mean, you mentioned my podcast at the top. I do Fun and Games, which is a broad topic-based video game podcast with the incredible Jeff Moonen. We cover a wide range of topics from console retrospectives to specific topics within gaming, like is grinding good in video games? Do you want games to hold your hand when you're exploring, and so on. And then we have a sub-series within that feed called Side Quests, where a different host every episode talks about a game and why they love it for 5 to 15 minutes. Josh has done several episodes. This episode of your show is we just gushed about a thing we loved. It's basically in that same spirit. So if you enjoyed the kind of conversation we had, you would probably really dig Side Quests. And then the other show I do is Reignite with it, which is a play-along podcast, started as a Mass Effect replay podcast where we made decisions, me and my co-host Frankie Bradley Lestrange, as if we were Shepard, and why we made those choices and then discussed it. More importantly, which aliens we wanted to smooch, because that's all people really care about. We've gone through all of the Mass Effect games and are now in the Dragon Age franchise, firmly in Dragon Age 2 as of this recording, making our way through Act 2 and are getting close to Act 3 within Dragon Age 2. So yeah, you can find both of those shows that I do at djstormageddon.com. I'm sure Josh will have links in the show notes. But yeah, those are the things to check out and the best places to find me.
Absolutely. And that will definitely all be in the show notes. For myself, listeners, if you would like to find me online, you can follow me on Blue Sky at stillloadingpodcast.com, Instagram and Facebook at stillloadingpod, though I'm more active on Instagram. Technically Threads at stillloadingpod, but I never fucking update that. It's just all my stuff from Instagram just goes right over there. But you can find me on there if you're bored. If you want to support the show, the easiest way to do that is give it a 5-star rating or review on whichever podcasting app you use. It does help more people find the show, and it pleases the algorithm gods. If you want to support the show monetarily, though, if you really like it, there is a Patreon, patreon.com/stillloadingpod. For as little as $1 a month, you get all the episodes a little bit earlier with better audio quality, as well as access to patron voting rights, which help guide the direction of the show. In fact, when this episode comes out, my annual backlog month will have just ended, and all 4 games in backlog month were chosen by my patrons. So if you would like to be one of those patrons to help guide the direction of the show, it's only $1 a month. Actually, I guess when this comes out, this is coming out in November. So backlog month would have been over for almost a month now, but still close enough. God damn it. That's all at the $1 level. For $3 a month, you get everything at the $1 tier plus patron shoutouts, which you heard at the beginning of this episode. Matt has graciously been at the $3 tier for quite some time, so thank you for being a patron, Matt. Genuinely appreciate that.
My pleasure. Happy to do it.
For $4 a month, you get all the previous stuff, the shoutouts, the patron voting rights, early access, plus 2 mini bonus episodes every single month. And for $5 a month, you get everything, all the previous stuff, plus access to my monthly movie podcast, which now I can actually say has moved on from Still Family. It is no longer the Fast and Furious podcast. It is now going to be Still Hensoning, where me and Doug Leaf from the Nostalgia Marcana podcast are going through all of Jim Henson's movies. Hey all, Future Josh here. The title of my new monthly movie podcast is not Still Hensoning, it is actually Still Muppeting. This was recorded prior to the name change. Just wanted to jump in here quick and make that correction. The new show is called Still Muppeting. I don't have a clever, at the time we're recording this, I don't have a clever, when you're here, your family type of shit, some weird pitch or tagline that I do. I'll get to that. There will be one that's ready for when that actually comes out. But the time we're recording this, we have yet to record the first episode. But Still Hensoning is coming. So if that interests you, patreon.com/stillloadingpod. It is all over there. And that's it. That is all the time I have for you on this episode of Still Loading. Thank you all so much for listening. Matt, thank you once again for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And with all that said, listeners, I will see you all next time.
In a scene that will eventually turn into a song from the official cast recording, I give you Welcome to Mountport.
Good morning!
Good morning!
Hello! Hello there!
Hello! It's another foggy day where the ocean marine layer gets stuck in our mountain range.
That's
but
right.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, the mountains over there next to the sea. How can that be? How can that be?
Well, the mountains stretch from the sky